Okay, well, welcome back to Business 140. We're getting into Chapter 11, Investment Planning, as we move along with Online Business 140 with Professor Joe Lane. I always like to kind of say that with a little bit of a smile. Again, a little bit different presentation, a little bit different delivery for me, but we've made it so far through chapters 9 and 10. And we're getting ready to move into Chapter 11. Now, I went back and reviewed 9 and 10. I think all the things that we need to have, or you need to have for those chapters, with the study guides and with what we talked about, you should be in good shape. Now, we're doing something a little different. We have kind of finished insurance. We've talked about health insurance, we've talked about property and liability insurance, and we've talked about, and I'll put it up here, auto insurance. That was also in Chapter 10. So we've kind of gotten through the insurance chapters with 9 and 10. One thing I didn't mention when it relates to property insurance, and this is maybe more of a personal thing as far as with you, not necessarily a testable thing, and that is property, talking about renter's insurance. If you are renting an apartment or something like this, does that apartment owner, do they have insurance on their apartment, on their building, on their contents? So if that thing burned, it would take care of them. It transfers their risk to insurance. Well, the answer is yes. Do they have insurance on your stuff that's in there? The answer is no. The lease that you signed says that you're responsible for your contents. So if you've got stuff that are pretty valuable in the apartment where you live, it would cause you some economic hardships if you lost it. You might want to get renter's insurance. It's quite inexpensive for the coverage that you get. So you might want to do that. I think that was the only thing out of those chapters that I wanted to mention that maybe I had not mentioned before about renter's insurance. Not that it's really going to be anything on the test as a be familiar with or anything, but just from a personal point of view. Okay, we're finished with insurance. Now we're trying to build our wealth. Well, one of the things that we've done, we've talked about budgeting. Hopefully we're doing a yearly budget. And one thing that personal financial planners do, they save. If you are a personal financial planner, you are saving. If you said, I do personal financial planning, but I don't save, I would say to you, you do some parts of personal financial planner, but you're not a full-blown personal financial planner because you've got financial goals. And some of these financial goals, you're going to have to save some money to be able to accomplish those financial goals. Right. So savings is absolutely essential. Then it comes, okay, so what am I going to do with those savings? The worst thing you can do with them is bury them in a jar out back, put them in your mattress, put them in a bag, hide them in your closet, something like that. Because what you want your savings to do is grow. We talked back a few chapters ago, I'm not sure what chapter it was, we were looking at present value and future value. How that you can take an amount and with a certain amount of interest rate over a period of time, that money can grow substantially. So if you need for this financial goal, for some reason you need $20,000 for that financial goal, whatever it might be. And let's say that financial goal is 5 to 6 or 7 years out. You don't have to put $20,000 in the bank here, as you well know, to have it here. You can put in a lesser amount, budget lesser amount for that particular financial goal, and put that, but with growth and everything through investments, that money can grow to that $20,000. So what we're trying to do we're starting in Chapter 11, investment planning. We're thinking about ways that you can invest. You can always take your money and put it in a savings account at a bank. You can put your money and put it in a CD, and it will grow. But interest rates, especially in 2020, are so incredibly low. And if banks are getting a small amount of money when they're lending their money out, like for car loans and stuff like that, well, you know, if they're not getting a lot of money for their loans, they're certainly not going to be able to pay you much money for that investment. So for that deposit, that money. So investment rates on CDs and individual savings are very, very low. So there's other ways that you can invest, and we'll talk about those as we go through this chapter. All right, let's start this off, and let's talk about the difference in a couple of things. The very first of this chapter, I say that people invest in their money for all sorts of reasons. Depends on your financial goals, or maybe your retirement goal. You need some investments. Certainly, you want to create enough wealth that we've talked about that you can live in a nice way when you retire. Investing and speculating, there is a difference. Personal financial planners invest their money. Process of placing money in some medium. A CD, a stock, a bond, something like that, in the expectation of receiving some future benefit. I am putting some money in a bond or in a stock, and we'll be talking about what these are, so that money will grow, and I am going to receive some future benefit. I'm going to have my money plus the growth from it. So, personal financial planners invest. Speculating is a form of investing in which future value and expected returns are highly uncertain. You don't want to take money as a personal financial planner and speculate with that money. It's one of those things where you maybe do some highly speculative investments, so maybe investments that fringe on being, gosh, I don't even know if this company is going to exist or not, or this is such a weird way to invest. That's speculating. Taking your money and if you go to the riverboat and gamble, you're speculating, okay? You'd love to win a lot of money, but probably not. Now, can a personal financial planner speculate if they want to? Yes, but kind of forget what I'm saying here. If you want to, all right, you've done all your personal financial planning, you've done all your budgeting, you're saving your money for your financial goals and everything, and you have some more money left over. I've got another $50 a month. I just want to take that money and speculate in just far out type of things. So in case that, I probably won't make anything, but if I do, that'd be great. Then you can do that. But from our point of view, I want you to be familiar with what investing is, and I want you to be familiar with what speculating is. But investing is what personal financial planners do. All right. What you should have as a personal financial planner is that you should have an investment plan. Now let me go over here. I know I kind of come on and off camera, but that's okay. I want to make sure that we understand what an investment plan is. Get it to you here in chapter 11. Chapter 11, he talks about investing. He talks about speculating. And then he goes over and says an investment. I'd like for you to know what an investment plan is. As a personal financial planner, am I going to have an investment plan? Yes, because you're going to be saving money and you're going to be investing it. A statement, preferably written. When you write things out, you think through them better, and you have it if you ever need it. A statement, preferably written, that specifies how investment capital will be invested to achieve a specified goal. I have this amount of money that I need to achieve this particular goal, and this is the way I'm going to do that investment. This is the way that specifies how investment capital will be invested to achieve a specific goal. So your investment plan may include several different types of investments that you're going to be doing for several different types of goals. Does your investment plan, can it ever change? Well, sure. But keep an investment plan. Make sure you have a written investment plan. That helps a whole lot. Okay, different ways to invest outside of CDs and savings. You can invest in common stock or stock. Buying stock is buying ownership in a company. You can buy stock in a company. You can go to the stock exchange through one of the local branches that they have around here. A.G. Edwards, one of these places, and you can buy stock in a company. A lot of banks around here have investment departments. So what you're doing, you're buying stock in a company. You can buy bonds. Now there's a difference between stocks and bonds, and we'll talk about that probably a little bit further along in this excuse me, in this chapter. So you can buy stocks, you can buy bonds. You can buy mutual funds. Mutual funds are a combination of stocks and bonds. You can invest in preferreds. This is particular types of stocks, and convertibles. That's not cars, and that's something we'll probably do. Or you can invest in real estate. So there's a number of different ways that you can invest. You'll hear people talking about investing in real estate, investing in stocks, investing in bonds, investing in mutual funds. I have one that I like best, the one that we did through most of our careers and everything, and I'll mention that when we get to it. Okay, I want to buy some stocks. I want to buy some bonds. Where do I go? If you want to buy groceries, probably not to include toilet tissue, that's probably not available right now. But if you want to buy groceries, you go to the grocery store. If you want to buy some fishing equipment, you'll go to a sporting goods store. Well, if you want to buy some stocks and bonds, you go to a stock and bond store. But they have a little bit different name for that. They call it, you will go to the securities market. Pick back up on our handout here. Investing is a part of personal financial planning. A lot of times it's the centerpiece. You need to have an investment plan. Different ways to invest. We got that. I want you to be familiar with those. The securities market, the marketplace in which stocks, bonds, and other financial instruments are traded. Now right now the securities market, the stock exchange, those things are going crazy right now because of the coronavirus. But you've heard of the New York Stock Exchange. You've heard of probably the American Stock Exchange. You've heard of NASDAQ. You've heard maybe about the Atlanta Stock Exchange. So stock exchanges, they are security markets where you go to buy bonds, mutual funds, and stock. Now, do you have to go all the way to New York to do that? No. The New York Stock Exchange, there's a number of businesses that sit on the exchange. They are members of the exchange. Merrill Lynch would be a member of the exchange. A.G. Edwards would be a member. There's a lot of members, and they're not all investment companies. But these companies that do investment type things, they have branches all over the United States. So you can go to a local investment firm here in the Twin Cities. You can go to a bank that has an investment department, and you can buy off on the securities market through one of these exchanges. Now, not to get deep with this at all, but just to let you know something, there's two types of securities markets. There's the primary market, and there's the secondary market. The primary market is where stocks, bonds, mutual funds, that sort of thing, are sold the first time. If CenturyLink goes out and goes out and sells some bonds or sells some stocks, they're going to be selling those on the primary market because that's the first time that they've been sold. After that, these bonds, these stocks, they may be resold and resold a number of times. That's the secondary market. So if you go to the securities market, you're going to be dealing in the secondary market. Primary market, new securities are sold to the public. Secondary market, a lot of times smaller investors, and these are stocks, mutual funds that have continued to be traded. Okay. How much money do you think goes through these securities markets? I don't know. I like to use the term gazillions because there is just no telling how much money goes through as people buy and sell on the market. Man, if you buy right or you sell right, you can make a fortune, and if you do it, as a regular investor, it's a way that you can increase your wealth by properly investing your funds. Okay. Is there ever a chance that somebody might try to cheat when it comes to the securities market? Do something against the rules? Well, the answer is that is possible. So you have to have someone, you got to have police. You got to have securities market police. Well, the police on a securities market, their name is the SEC. And that's not the Southeastern Conference for you football players, football fans. The SEC is the Securities and Exchange Commission. The Securities and Exchange Commission, they regulate the transactions, they regulate what goes on, and they enforce the rules and regulations and can bring charges against those that in some way violate the rules of the exchange. So the Securities and Exchange Commission. Okay, some terminology I'd like for us to know. You've heard sometimes them talking about bull markets and bear markets. That's some terms that you'll hear. A bear market, B-E-A-R, as with fur, and a bull market. Now here's what's kind of interesting. A bull market is where the stock markets, the securities markets are doing well. It's kind of like you've heard the term, you're bullish on America. Well, that means things are going well. The markets are doing well. Wealth is increasing, that sort of thing. All right, that's a bull market. A market condition normally associated with investor optimism, economic recovery, expansion, rising security prices. That's a bull market. We have been in a really strong bull market for a while now. Our economy has been doing exceedingly well these last few years. A bear market is a condition of the market typically associated with investor pessimism and economic slowdown, falling security prices. The prices of stocks and things are falling on the market. That's a bear market. We like bull markets, where things are going up and things are robust and our economy is doing well. Now here's what normally happens. You don't go, if there ever is a change, you don't go from a bear market to a bull market or a bull market to a bear market like that. I mean, you're talking about billions of dollars of investments. So it doesn't change overnight, but it can change over time. 2008, when we went into the worst recession we've been in since the Great Depression, it took if you look back, 2005, 2006, 2007, you could see it coming. But it took a while for it to happen. Well, let me tell you, we're in unprecedented times right now in America with this coronavirus. And I probably said this in one of the earlier videos, but I'm not sure. And I may have said it in our introduction video. I think I did. Our economy has been very bullish. We've had a very strong economy. Everything has been going right with our economy. Almost overnight, we've moved into a bear market. Pessimism, if you look at what it says here, typically associated with investor pessimism. Are we pessimistic right now on the market? Look, there's the one thing that the markets can't stand, the one thing that makes security stock markets really nervous is uncertainty. Uncertainty drives things down. Uncertainty puts us in a bear market. Do we have some uncertainty right now? So this is almost unprecedented that we have gone from really, really high, maybe the highest we've ever been as far as the robustness and the values of our market, down to very, very low, almost moving into recessionary territory. But again, as I mentioned, we had a very strong market going into this coronavirus. So I think once we get past this thing, our markets, our economy should come back pretty strongly, pretty quickly, except maybe in some isolated industry. The cruise industry, things like this, may take a little bit more time for them to come back. Okay, so if you want to do some investing in the securities market, what's the best way? Well, now, I don't know if there's a best way, but let me talk about what stockbrokers do. If you decide that you want to invest with Merrill Lynch, A.G. Edwards, Charles Schwab, somebody like that, you can invest with them and you can get with a broker. This is someone that's going to help you with your investments, because different people are going to invest different ways depending on what their financial goals are. You may want to invest where you can try to maximize the earnings of your investment. So you may invest one way. Somebody else, you may want to earn with your investments, but you want to be particularly safe. So there's different types of investments, and stockbrokers can help you do that. Now, some people don't use stockbrokers. They go it on their own. They study it, they understand it, and they do it themselves. That's fine. That's fine. A couple of things in this chapter. There's something called the Dow. D-O-W. That's the Dow Jones Industrial Average. You always want to know how the market, how many securities are on the market? Thousands. There's thousands of stocks and things on the market. So, you don't know is every one of them going to be going the same way? No, they're going to be going, but what's the general trend of the market? And I'll say this right here. If you look at the market, if you look at the stock market, 1950 to 2020, what you're going to find is there's some ups and downs. Great Depression, way down, up, back. You're going to find ups and downs, but what's happened over the market over time, it's increased. The stock market over the last 50, 60, 70 years has increased during that period of time. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. What the Dow is the Dow Jones Industrial Average. What the folks on the securities market have done, they've picked, I can't remember now off the top of my head, 20 or 30 stocks. And they trace those stocks as to what those stocks are doing. If the stocks that are in the Dow are going up, that says, hey, that says that likely trend is for the stock market increase. If the companies that are on the Dow, if those stocks and things, securities are going down, they say there's a likely trend that the market may go down. So what the Dow is, let me see if I can. I know I keep moving in and out on this here, but let's see if I can find the Dow. And while I'm doing that, I'll go through, I'd certainly be familiar with what a bull market is. I'd be familiar with what a bear market is. I'd be familiar with the Securities and Exchange Commission. I'd be familiar with what securities markets are. I'd be familiar with the difference between a primary and a secondary market. Be familiar with different ways to invest. And I think you would know an investment plan. I'd be familiar with what stockbrokers are. Let me see if I can find the Dow. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, the most widely followed measure of stock market performance, consists of 30 blue chip stocks listed mostly on the New York Stock Exchange. So they took 30 companies and they plot the path of those 30 companies. And whatever those 30 companies are is an indication of what the market's going to do as a whole. Does that mean that's what every individual stock's going to do? But it's an indication of the market. The 30 stocks on the Dow back in 2015, and probably hadn't changed much since then. Apple, I'm not going to name them all, Coca-Cola, Disney, Intel, IBM, Nike, Verizon, Walmart, some heavy hitters. Those are the ones that they are following on the Dow. to give an indication of how the market as a whole is trending. Okay, I always like this term. What you want to do is when you do your investment plan, you want to build up your investments. You want to, you should have more investments here than you had here, because you're taking that money you're saving and you are investing in it. Maybe you've got some CDs, but maybe you have some stocks, and maybe you have some bonds and mutual funds, or probably a combination of those. So what you're doing is you're building up your portfolio of investments. Now I love that term, because think of a kind of a nice leather bag here, kind of a bag. Think about putting all of your investments that you have, put them in that bag and walking around. That's your investment portfolio. That's the portfolio of the investments that you have. So what you're going to be doing is, over time, you're going to be building your investment portfolio. What can you say about investing? Kind of the main thing that people will tell you is this. Day in and day out, year in and year out, here's something to remember. Be familiar with what an investment portfolio is. It's simply the investments that you have. Keeping up with, putting together, your investment portfolio is a listing of, or a having of the investments that you have as a part of your saving and everything. Most times, most stockbrokers will tell you diversification is the key. Diversify your investment. You've always heard the term, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you invest in a particular stock and that stock goes crazy high, you're a millionaire, maybe. But if that stock goes crazy low, you're busted. And so it's best, they normally say, put your eggs in more than one basket. Put your investment in different baskets. So if something happens with this type of investment, another type of investment, maybe this one may be going down, this one may be going up, but in diversification, you are diversifying your investment portfolio so that you're protecting yourself from any catastrophic type of investment loss. If that makes sense? Okay. And doesn't it sound cool? See, if you're doing some investing, what you can tell one of your friends is, I've been thinking about maybe doing a little more diversification of my investment portfolio. Doesn't that sound impressive? That sound like you really know what you're doing? Well, that's what we need to do. We need to probably diversify our investment portfolio. Okay, that's kind of a start to a couple of chapters that we're going to be doing on investment planning. We're not going to be speculating. We're going to be investing. We're going to build us, or we're going to have us an investment plan. We've talked about some of the different ways to invest. Now, I think Chapter 12 talks about investing in stocks and bonds. So that we'll be talking more about how to do that particular type of investing. And I think I've given you all, there's only one no, and I think I've given you all to be familiar with, right down to be familiar with the Dow portfolio and diversification. So this pretty much wraps up Chapter 11 for us. We've got one more chapter we've got to do before we get to test number 3. So as you know, I've told you on these other chapters, Professor Pierce, who has set up my recording studio for me. Hey, if we ever vote for Delta Actor of the Year, maybe for a Delta Academy Award or something, be sure you put my name in, okay? But Professor Pierce has told me, make sure you make some sort of a loud noise, so spike up the audio, and that way I'll know that it's a break from one chapter to another. So we have finished Chapter 11 on investment planning. We're heading to the last chapter before we take test number 3. So we will bring this chapter to an end. Thank you. I'll see you in Chapter 12.